Well, joining us now with the inside word is Gareth Vaughan from interest.co.nz. And Gareth, you've followed the finance company sector very closely over the years. What did you make of what the new FMA chief had to say about their progress?
Look, I wasn't surprised, to be honest. I thought that they were probably going to come out and sift through the 25 or so cases they inherited from the Securities Commission predecessor and do what they did yesterday, which was dismiss some of them and continue with some of them. I was surprised that they're continuing with as many as they are in the 16 that they're going to continue looking at, though.
Do you think, though, that it's possible that they will have to dump more of those cases? They talked about the different stages of progress for some of them, and some of them many years old. Are we going to see more bumped off the list?
Potentially, but you think that Shaun Hughes has been in place there for 4 months now, so he's had a good look at all of these cases, and you'd think that he must believe that there's something they can pin on these 16 companies or their directors, otherwise they wouldn't be pursuing them. But look, I mean, he did mention yesterday that the FMA would welcome approaches from the parties involved with the companies if they're looking to come to some sort of compromise. So I think we can certainly expect to see a few deals being done.
They've said, though, that 3 potentially they'll tell us about before Christmas, hopefully have a resolution. Is it disappointing, though, they won't tell us which ones?
It is. It's frustrating. I mean, especially for the investors out there. Obviously, they've been waiting, as you discussed with Shaun, some of these investors have been waiting 3, 4, 5 years. A lot of them are elderly. So it would be really nice for them if they could get some justice. It does take a long time. And as we've seen with some of the cases where charges have previously been laid, the likes of Bridgecorp, once they get to the courts, it doesn't go quickly there either. I mean, Bridgecorp, we've got directors applying for legal aid and all sorts of things. And then, there can be appeals to decisions and all that type of thing. So even once these cases get to court, assuming, of course, some of these 16 will, it's going to take ages, years from that point as well. I mean, one of the things we've talked about in our offices with some of these cases, World War II was over before some of these cases are going to be resolved.
I don't mean to condemn them before it's even happened, but if they don't manage to bring charges against the likes of Hanover, the more high-profile ones, are they going to damage their reputation of wanting to take a really hard line? Look,
I think people are definitely looking for Shaun Hughes and the FMA to take a harder line than their predecessor took. Obviously, the Securities Commission was much criticised for fiddling while Rome burnt, while all these 51 companies collapsed. But look, I think the reality is that he's inherited a bunch of boxes. So, these cases were opened by the Securities Commission, but we have to take him at his word that in a lot of cases not a lot was actually done. The Securities Commission was under-resourced and perhaps wasn't as proactive as it should have been. So I think we're going to have to be patient. He did say maybe 3 by Christmas, possibly 5. The rest of them, it's going to take another couple of years to get through. Look, I do think, though, that people are watching carefully, and we do want to see a line drawn in the sand, and we do want to see, some of these people preferably locked up.
Absolutely, we do. Now, let's talk about the official cash rate reviewed today. The last time Dr. Bollard gave us his monetary policy statement, it seemed as though it was inevitable they'd be unwinding that cut that they implemented after the Christchurch quake. Is that prospect now diminishing?
Oh, I think it is, definitely is. You just look at the world picture at the moment. Europe, obviously, overnight, an emergency meeting between the Germans and the French and the Greeks. Big talk again of Greece defaulting on its debt, and obviously banks all around Europe are holding that debt. Yesterday we had Bill English, the finance minister, talking about how he's caught up with Alan Bollard, the Reserve Bank governor, since Dr. Bollard came back from the big annual Reserve Bank meeting at Jackson Hole in the US, and how Dr. Bollard had said it was a very pessimistic meeting. So I think we can safely assume today that he won't be changing. The OCR will be staying at 2.5%.
And does that overshadow the kind of recovery that we are seeing domestically?
I think it does. Obviously we're a company that relies heavily on exports, and a lot of the big export markets around the world are in serious trouble. The US, Barack Obama just unveiled a $447 billion jobs package recently, 14 million people unemployed. They've had interest rates at 0% there for 3 years. Europe's in a terrible state, and even China, their biggest export market is the US, so I think so.
Thank you, Gareth. That is Gareth Vaughan from interest.co.nz. Well, that is